And with my love and sun rays and it simmers, yeah. Needlessly knowing that darkness is slowly and surely flowing into my head. Deep down it simmers. And I know that someday too soon the top will blow off. And I'll be left freaking and screaming with all of these thoughts. And everyone and every little thing you could possibly know will someday turn to dust and ruin just as my own. Till then it simmers. Going along with the trees and it simmers. Struck by a cool ocean breeze and I shiver, yeah. From the cold so bold, its tiny little tips of this weakness that timidly take hold, makes me shiver. Yeah, reminding someday too soon, top will blow off. And I'll be left breaking and screaming with all of these thoughts. Little thing you could possibly know will someday turn to dust and ruin just as my own. Till then it simmers.
Okay, good morning. Hello. Hi, welcome to Nightly News This Morning. I am your host, Cousin Matt. Today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. And we're here to look at some news stories. You know, we do this every Tuesday and Friday. We take 4 topics from ground news and kind of give you an idea how they're being reported on from each side, at least which side's reporting on it, you know, more or less. And then I kind of give you, you know, which way the direction of who I'm picking to report from, which way they lean. So does that necessarily mean that I'm left or I am right? No, not really. I don't really consider myself either one of those things. I just try to report the news. You know, I might have a little bit of bias, but you know, I don't try to pick one side or over the other or anything like that necessarily. So we're going to get into it in a minute here. I just wanted to start the show by addressing there will be some changes hopefully coming in the future. I've got some things in the works. I'm going to try to bring some more awareness to the show. Maybe try to go do some more out in the field type reporting things. We're going to get a Patreon going at the beginning of the year. Maybe try to get some guest hosts in here, get some more people, get the show expanded a little bit, because you could call it niche right now. You could call this a niche show. There is an audience. It's small at the moment, but we're growing. We're growing. That subscriber count's going steadily up by the day. We're almost to 300, man. We're getting there. I know that's not much. My view counts are actually a lot more, but I digress. But I digress. So we've got some news stories to cover today. We'll get into. I'll go over it a little bit more at the end of the show. Just the Patreon and stuff like that. But we got some news stories to cover today. Got some big news in the U.S. And we're gonna cover that on our first story here. So let's go ahead and get going. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Dick Cheney. Yell at Ben and yell. Sorry, I'm gonna go back here and we'll start that one over because I don't. The conservatives will try to cancel me if I say that. But Freedom, you said yell at Ben and join DP more often. Love seeing you there. Might do that too, actually. Might try to do some day streams with him a little bit more, possibly. So I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, got some things going in the future, and hopefully, if I'm on DP more, maybe that'll bring more viewers over to this show. But anyway, let's get back into story number one. So. Former U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney dies at the young age of 84 years old. So I saw this morning on Ground News, and I was surprised because I'm not going to lie, I thought Dick Cheney was already dead. I don't know. Shows how much I know. But anyway, yeah, so Dick Cheney died last night, heart disease or whatever. So bias distribution so far, you've got 19% coming from the right, 34% coming from the left, and 47% is coming from the center. But with 247 articles reporting, that's not really a blind spot at all. So I have my sources, my news sources sorted by factuality, and I pull from CTV News a lot, which is a Canadian reporting outlet, and it has a center-leaning distribution. But I wanted to try to find something else this morning to pull from. I don't want to continuously read articles from the same news source over and over again. So my story today is actually pulled from a source that is it's way down here on the factuality list. It's Spiegel, which I think, it's from Germany. And I do have it translated to English. So again, sometimes when we do this, when we pull from stories from other countries, we get a little bit of a translation error in the article, but it's still going to give you kind of the gist of what's going on. I mean, Dick Cheney's dead. We know that. Like I said, I wanted to pull. This says it's a left-leaning source, and it's got a very high factuality rating still. So let's go ahead and read through it real quick. It's not going to take very long. So. The first two articles today should be pretty short. So, former U.S. Vice President and Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney is dead. This is reported by U.S. media citing Cheney's family. Cheney was 84 years old. He died on Monday evening as a result of pneumonia and heart and vascular disease as a result, according to his family, I assume. The Republican politician served as the Vice President of the United States from 2001 to 2009. Under George W. Bush, and from 1989 to 1993, he was the Minister of Defense. It was the Defense Secretary, I believe. It's the translation error here. Under his father, George Bush. At the beginning of his political career in Washington, Cheney worked, among other things, as Chief of Staff in the White House for Gerald Ford and a member of the U.S. House of Representatives for the state of Wyoming. The 1941 in the U.S. state of Nebraska, Cheney is considered to be one of the most influential vice presidents in U.S. history. That's some weird translation there. During his time in office, Cheney was a strong supporter of the Iraq War in 2003. As vice president from 2001 to 2009, Cheney vehemently advocated for strengthening the presidency. He was convinced that this had been going on since the Watergate scandal. Richard Nixon lost strength. He also strengthened the vice president's influence by putting together a national security team that often acted as a separate center of power within the government. Cheney suffered from heart problems for much of his life. At the age of 37, he suffered the first of several heart attacks. Holy crap, I didn't know he had his first heart attack at 37. That's crazy. In 2012, he received a heart transplant. What? Cheney was considered a classical Republican politician. His daughter, Liz Cheney, also became an influential Republican representative and sharp critic of the current U.S. President, Donald Trump. In the run-up to the 2024 presidential election, Dick Cheney announced that he'd be voting for the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris. In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been a person who posed a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump, Cheney said. And that's the whole article. Man, that was a weird one. But again, like I said, that happens sometimes when you read articles from different different language sources. So anyway, I got my Juneberry Red Bull, not a sponsor, tubes, and we'll get a sip of that and get going into story number 2 here. So what do you guys think? Do you think that if I had a Patreon, if I did it like different tiers, you could pick different stories? Like, is that a way to get people involved? Is that something that people would be interested in? Not really sure. Like I said, I'm gonna try doing some things to get the show maybe a little bit more engaged and things like that. So let's get going on story number 2 this morning. Donald Trump urges New York voters to vote for Cuomo for mayor. He's capable of it. Mamdani is not. They are terrified of Zoran Mamdani. So if you didn't know, today is election day and New York is voting for mayor. So if you are watching this in New York, I hope that you do your part to get out there and you get to the polls and help make a difference in New York. So you think shorts are the way to go. Cool. I appreciate that. And let me pop back over here for just a second. So while we're on that subject, because I do the changing of the scenes, so I know where to edit. While we're on that subject, I've been trying to pick shorter stories so that they're able to edit into shorts, because the shorts can sometimes get upwards to 1,000 to 2,000 views. So yeah, definitely been trying to do that everywhere that I can. But let me get back into this, and I'll try to do it in a way that we can make it into a short. So Trump urges New York voters. Trump urges New Yorkers to vote for Cuomo for mayor. He's capable of it. Mamdani is not. Bias distribution says that we have 28% of the reporting is coming from the left, while 34% is coming from the right. 38% is coming from the center. So it's definitely not a blind spot at all. Today is election day, and New Yorkers are voting for mayor today. So this is a very big subject. And if we look down, it says it's got 118 articles reporting. Our factuality rating says 71% of the sources are high factuality or above. I have a source pulled from UPI. Because a lot of these, if you look down, and I sort my stories by factuality on Ground News, but if you look down and you see this little dollar sign on the outlet, let me see if I highlighted the outlet there, but you see Axios and then it's got a dollar sign next to it. That means it's behind a paywall. So UPI is actually the first source that I have that's not behind a paywall. So let's go ahead and read that article about Donald Trump endorsing the sex pest Andrew Cuomo. President Donald Trump announced Monday he's backing former Democratic New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's running as an independent in New York City's mayoral race, saying residents have no choice. The president threw his endorsement behind Cuomo on the eve of the election over Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa to beat Democratic Zoran Mamdani, who he called a communist. It's my obligation to run the nation, and it's my strong conviction that New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mamdani win, Trump wrote on Monday in a post on Truth Social. His principles have been tested for over 1,000 years, and never once have they been successful. The president added, I would much rather see a Democrat who has a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. I love it how Trump will sue people for slandering him, but nobody's going to come after him for the lies that he tells in the media ever. In his post, Trump also threatened to withhold federal funding from New York City if Mamdani wins on Tuesday, weaponizing the White House for politics. If communist candidate Zoran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it's highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds, other than the very minimum required, to my beloved first home, Trump wrote. I don't want to send, as president, good money after bad. Trump also explained why he chose to endorse Cuomo over the Republican mayoral candidate. We must remember this. A vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani, Trump warned. Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He's capable of it. Mamdani is not. Cuomo told reporters in a response Monday night that the president was not endorsing me. He's opposing Mamdani. That's not true. He's endorsing you. Own it, Cuomo. You're Trump's little man. Mamdani also responded to Trump's post saying the president is backing who will be the best mayor for him. Not the best mayor for New York City, not the best mayor for New Yorkers, but the best mayor for Donald Trump and his administration, Mamdani told reporters, while also weighing in on Elon Musk's endorsement of Cuomo earlier Monday. The reason the president of the United States of America, the reason that one of the wealthiest men in the world are both trying to get involved at the last minute, Mamdani said, is that they know we will accomplish everything we have run on. Yep. Another huge tip, make different thumbnails for every live stream. It makes it easier for people to feel more involved and up to date. Okay, I appreciate that feedback. I really do. Making thumbnails is like the bane of my existence. It's the one thing about all of this that I hate the most. That being said, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. And like I said, I'm actually going to have a little bit more time to devote to the show. So that might not actually, like, I might get better at it and might not be a big deal at all. So I really do appreciate that feedback, Freedom. That segment that I just did, though, I think I'm going to try to get that edited into a short today because, like I said, today's election day in New York City. And if that gets out and, you know, gets in front of people, maybe it'll make a difference. I don't know what time the polls close, but I guess I should probably try to do it sooner than later. So the more you do, the better you'll get. Thank you. I really appreciate the support, man. It means a lot. So let's get into story number 3. How about that? All right. Laura resume. Okay. I don't understand this, but here we are. Laura Loomer receives Pentagon credentials after mainstream press departure. So this is a fairly new story. Just came out today, I believe. First reported 3-4 hours ago. So bias distribution has most of the reporting coming from the left at 50%. We've got 30% coming from the center, and then another 20% coming from the right. Not quite enough to qualify as a blind spot or anything like that, but it's definitely something that is not quite being highlighted by the right enough, if you ask me. So 80% of the sources are high factuality or above. I have First Post Nation or First Post News pulled up. It says it's a high factuality with center-leaning distribution. I do have the stories sorted by factuality, and usually we pull from a source that's very high factuality. But this morning, with so few stories reporting, we've got one that's not quite very high factuality. But we'll keep that in mind as we read through here about why Laura Loomer is getting Pentagon press credentials. Laura Loomer, far-right political activist and former congressional candidate in Florida, has been accredited to cover the U.S. Defense Department, according to a person familiar with the matter. The 32-year-old, known for her strong alliance with President Donald Trump, has frequently met with him in the Oval Office during his second term. Her close proximity to the president and outspoken criticism of senior defense and national security officials she claims are disloyal to Trump have caused tension within the administration, with some officials dismissed soon after her public remarks. Her inclusion comes as the Pentagon endorses a sweeping overhaul of its media policy. The new rules sparked an unprecedented walkout last month by journalists covering the department after restrictions barred them from seeking information not officially released by the government. Major outlets, including the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, and Fox News, declined to sign the policy, citing concerns over press freedom. Only One American News, a right-wing cable network, agreed to the terms. The Pentagon's new press corps, introduced last month, now includes a range of far-right media organizations such as the Gateway Pundit, the Post Millennial, and Lindell TV, alongside several independent journalists and online influencers who have not previously covered the Pentagon regularly. Loomer has built her profile through provocative online actions in close association with Trump. Her social media activities have often coincided with the dismissal of several administration officials, though some have questioned the extent of her influence. Among those removed was General Timothy Howe, former director of National Security Agency and head of U.S. Cyber Command, whose departure followed Loomer's claim that she had pushed for his dismissal. She also linked the firing of National Security Advisor Michael Waltz and his staff in April to her reporting. Waltz was confirmed as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Loomer has previously criticized several Pentagon figures, including Colonel Earl G. Matthews, then nominated as Defense Department General Counsel, and Army Secretary Dan Diskerl. In August, she attacked Diskerl for praising Medal of Honor recipient Florent Groberg, who had spoken at the 2016 Democratic National Convention. Following Loomer's criticism, Diskerl withdrew appointment of Jen Easterly, President Joe Biden's cybersecurity director, from a teaching post at West Point. Known for her confrontational activism, Loomer once handcuffed herself to Twitter's New York office after being banned from the platform. She brands herself on the website as an investigative journalist, activist, and truth teller, positioning herself as a critic of Silicon Valley and mainstream media. Since 2017, she has cultivated a controversial online persona, calling herself anti-Islam and referring to immigrants as invaders, according to the Washington Post. Despite facing multiple rejections from roles within the Trump campaign and administration, Loomer remains an informal advisor. Trump has publicly praised her, describing her as a patriot driven by concern for the country, although she has occasionally criticized him, once accusing him of accepting a gift from jihadists in suits. She later apologized. Of course she did. Loomer's application for White House press credentials remains pending, despite repeated requests. She continued to operate her consulting firm, Loomer Strategies, which provides opposition research, and her recent inclusion in the Pentagon press corps marks her latest foothold in national politics. Ugh, barf. I love how the orange skin tone and plastic surgery has become the staple for MAGA. He's a trendsetter. I set trends. What can I say? Everybody loves orange skin. I look so tan. I look so good. I can do a yellow tint on my desk lamps and make it look like I'm orange, but I don't want to do that. That would be silly. One more story today, again about elections. So, Virginia's governor race will test Trump and Democrats nationally and make history. Okay, so I'm excited to read about this. This is a blind spot for the right. If we come down here and look at our bias distribution, this story says it's got 56% of the reporting is coming from the left, which is more than half. 33% from the center and 11% from the right. So pretty big blind spot. We're going to look and see what's going on here. I have a story pulled up from the Associated Press. It says it leans left with a very high factuality rating. And let's go ahead and get into it. These are our candidates for mayor in Virginia. So you've got a Republican former lieutenant governor or a Democratic former CIA operative. Great choices. Good job, Virginia. Virginia voters are deciding a history-making race for governor Tuesday that will serve as a barometer of the attitudes towards President Donald Trump and the Democrats' attempts to regain their footing on the national stage. Republican Winsome Earl Sears, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, a staunch conservative who serves as Virginia's lieutenant governor, and Democrat Abigail Spanberger, a center-left Democrat and former CIA case officer who helped her party win a House majority during Trump's first presidency, are vying to become the first ever woman to lead the Commonwealth. Earl Sears would make history as the first black woman elected governor in any state. Wow. That would actually be pretty cool, except for she's a staunch conservative and a fan of Trump. So the race to replace term-limited Governor Glenn Youngkin has taken on national dimensions from the start, serving as a testing ground for both parties 1 year ahead of the national midterm elections that could redirect the country's course for the balance of Trump's second term. It comes as the state Trump lost in 3 consecutive presidential contests has been strained by many of his policies, particularly the steep cuts to the civil services and ongoing government shutdown. For Republicans, Earl Sears will show whether a candidate in Trump's general mold, though notably without his full-throated support, can win in a battleground state. For Democrats, Spanberger will signal whether the same center-left approach that worked across the country in 2018 midterms is the answer for 2026, when the party's energy has been focused on its progressive base. With the political turmoil coming out of Washington right now, this election is an opportunity, Spanberger said on her final campaign swing. headed into Election Day. Virginia voters can and will send a message amid the recklessness and the heartlessness coming out of Washington. Republicans have placed similarly dire stakes on the outcome. Abigail Spanberger represents the darkness, Earl Sears told supporters last weekend. Spanberger, who gave up her congressional seat to run for governor, has tried to leverage voters' concerns about the cost of living and the impact of Trump's domestic policy and tax cut law on Virginia's healthcare system. She spent millions on television and digital ads tying Earl Sears to the president, but she shied away from Democrats' 2024 dire warnings about democracy that proved not to be persuasive to voters. Trump has offered only tepid support for Earl Sears, who 3 years ago said she would not back Trump's return to the White House before recanting. The president did not campaign for her in person and did not say her name during his only telephone town hall with her supporters Monday night. The lieutenant governor, meanwhile, has given Trump high marks overall for his performance, but did not mention him at her crowning Saturday night rally, where Youngkin provided the star power in lieu of the president. Earl Sears looked to replicate Trump's attack on Democrats on cultural issues like transgender people's participation in sports, but she spoke less about her career-long opposition to abortion rights, giving Spanberger the opportunity to emphasize her support for abortion rights in the last southern state that has not restricted or banned the procedure since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned a national right to abortion services. Earl Sears also sought to pressure Spanberger for refusing to withdraw her endorsement of Jay Jones, the Democratic nominee for Virginia Attorney General, who faced calls to drop out of the contest earlier this fall after disclosure of text messages he sent in 2022 suggesting the former Republican House Speaker get 2 bullets to the head. The contest to replace Earl Sears as lieutenant governor, and all 100 seats in the state's Democratic-controlled House of Delegates are on the ballot Tuesday. The Democratic-controlled state Senate will face voters in 2027. All right, so I'm up early enough to catch this live. What's up, Spec? How you doing? Yeah, so at least the last story. So you're more than welcome to go back and watch the rest of the episode. So that's what I've got for today. Yeah, it's an important day. It's election day. If you're in one of the places where your vote matters, please go out and vote. You know, like take part in the democratic process. It's not much to ask. It's not really, you know, super involved, but it definitely makes a difference. So, like Freedom suggested, I'm gonna try to get the story about Mom Donnie cut up and posted into a short today before the polls close. And yeah, I appreciate Spec and Freedom hanging out. And we'll be back on Friday with another episode, and we'll get into it. I hope you guys take care. Have a great week. Remember, you have an influence on the people around you, so try to influence them in a positive way if you can. It's really the only way to make the world a better place. It's all that you've got control over. So take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Nightly News This Morning. I'm Cousin Matt.